Arknights has many great stages, but in this video, I kind of wanted to go through some of my favourite stages, and my ones that kind of stand out to me are not really maybe the most epic stages, although some of them are pretty epic, and you probably would agree that they're probably some of the most epic actually, so I take that back, but they're not the exact reason why they're my favourite stages. So we're going to go through this as a new player who plays from E1's perspective, so it's a little bit skewed. It's not going to be probably what your favourite stage is, and of course this is specific to the main story as well. I'm not talking about side quests, I'm not talking about integrated strategies, CC, stages, all this sort of stuff. This is specifically main story chapters, and chapters up to stages up to chapter 9 basically. I am going to have a video soon as well talking about my feelings on Arknights as somebody who started in 2025, who's come late into the game, and kind of just give you my viewpoint on the game, how I'm feeling about it, the things I've enjoyed the most, the things that maybe I haven't enjoyed as much. Spoiler alert, there's not really that many of those, but there is some. But I want to get into talking about my favourite stages for Arknights. I'd love to know what yours are down below, and let me know what you think about the stages that I've spoke about as well. I'd love to hear your feedback on that. So let's get straight into talking about the best stages for me in Arknights' main story so far. First stage we're going to talk about is stage 7-12, so chapter 7, stage 12. For a lot of people, this might not be something that massively stands out, but for me, this was a lot of fun to play. My actual completion was a little bit more standard, if you will, pretty straightforward, clear. But some of the attempts leading up to it were really fun to do. I like when Arknights introduces like quirky little stage mechanics, and 7-12 is a really good one for that. You've got the roadblocks, the blocks that you can drop down. You've got quite a few of them. I can't remember how many you get now. Is it something like 15? It's a decent amount though, right? And you've got this particular bleed tile here, and then you've got the altars, right? Which obviously buff, and I think they do damage as well, but to only particular ones. No, there's particular ones that don't, right? They just get the buff from you. But anyway, it's less about the altar, and it's more specifically about the roadblocks. It's really fun to just play around with them, right? To mess with the enemies' pathing, have them going backwards and forwards. A couple of times around the blue box, we had them doing the hokey cokey, going backwards and forwards while they were bleeding out. It was a fun time. It's just a real enjoyable part of the game for me, and I love those quirky little stage mechanics, and you're probably seeing a few of these stages that I'll talk about. That's kind of one of the things I like about Arknights, among a myriad of other things, but they've done a real good job with keep adding in fun, cool, quirky, interesting mechanics that allow you to play the game in a totally different way. And stage 7-12 for me was, I just remember playing it, even on the fails, right? I was just having a laugh. It was just a real fun time to clear this stage. I had an absolute blast with it. So this is definitely one of my favourite stages that I've played so far in Arknights, in the main quest at least, anyway. So the next one I want to talk about is another stage in chapter 7 as well, and that's the Daddy. It's Patriot's fight. This was just awesome, right? This was a real good fight. This was a proper test on my account. I'm still E1, but this was a real, okay, we've got to plan this out. To the point, the day we cleared, we actually had MS Paint out, and we was planning it out. That's how deep it got. Real good use of the mines. If you don't necessarily have the ability to steamroll the stage, they are a real useful mechanic within the stage, and if used correctly, can totally change it, right? It's a game changer. When I really figured out how to implement them properly, it was just eye-opening. I decided to actually stop and stall Patriot into his second phase towards the end, because for me it was a good setup where I was able to get healers crossing over and get the units on him that I needed to get on him, and allowed everybody else to kind of just survive the second wave of enemies that come in, because this was a stage that out of all the stages I've probably cleared, I wouldn't be as confident as clearing it straight away as the others. And the simple fact of that is the RNG when it comes to the 12F dodges, right? 12F came in clutch on this stage, back-to-back dodges from the attack that he does when he does the range attack from the furthest away character. And Dude came in clutch, absolute clutch. So that's one that I'd probably go back and try that now and probably fail it, if I'm honest. It'd probably take a couple of attempts to get it right. Maybe we've had some improvements to the squad actually now. We've got some better characters, so maybe, who knows. But this was just the story leading up to it, after the fight as well. I think that all added to it, right? But I just think this is a really fun stage. It was an aura stage, right? When Patriot, when you first face him and he just starts just steamrolling through your team, and then you slowly start to figure things out. Real enjoyable fight, real enjoyable battle. Brilliant boss battle, actually. It felt like a true boss fight, this fight did for me. I really enjoyed it. So, on to the next one for me, and that is Chapter 8. This has got quite a few difficult stages in it, Chapter 8 has actually. And the next set of stages are kind of... I enjoy them for a different reason. But I've only just started the next chapter, but there's a few stages from that are in there just for like kind of a fun element really. But the next one is R88. This for me was a hard stage. This took a minute, and I think the reason why this is on there for me was it was a puzzle. This, and there's many stages like this in Arknights, right? But this was a puzzle of multiple moving parts, timing. For a while there was just, I had no idea how are we going to clear this stage. I just don't think this is going to happen. This is really difficult. I was at a point where I was genuinely thinking we're going to have to E2 here. This is it. This is the stage where it happens. And then slowly things started to click. Now, to be fair, chat did throw out some ideas, and I will say props to chat, because when we have been on difficult stages, people have been throwing out ideas. What about this unit? Maybe this unit doing this would maybe help out a particular situation, but without like fully backseating the stage. So I've been able to think, oh, actually, let me bring them, and then I've been able to go with it from there. So at most of the stages I do on my own anyway, but the few that the chat has got themselves involved in, they've really been subtle about their ideas that they're thrown out there, right? Some of them have chat have scammed me. We won't go into that though. But this was a really enjoyable stage. Eventually, starting to use his bleed tile down here to take out the one drone in the center. Things started to click. Initially, we were getting Tal to push through as quick as possible, because all I was thinking was she needs to get through as quick as possible. She's bleeding. But then we started to figure out, okay, stalling's a thing here, because that's a big thing in this game, right? When it comes to a lot of like boss stages, the stall is a real thing, and then dealing with like the rest of the map, and then dealing with the boss. Now, I know this is a different situation because it was an escort, but you know what I mean? It's still the same situation. That's the most important factor to deal with. Stall that, deal with everything else, and then you can deal with that. It's kind of the same situation here, but the drones were just such a hard thing to work out initially for me. And it was like, it really was. I've said this lots of time with Arknights. It's like you start to get the parts of the puzzle. With this stage in particular, it really felt like we were figuring out a quadrant, and then the next quadrant, and then it's like, okay, we've got that quadrant, then we'd fail, then it's like, okay, I think we've got this now, and then it was just about getting all the timing down and figuring it out, and we managed to do it. And we managed to get the secret ending as well. We got it with 50% and above HP, like by a slither, literally by a slither. And this was a real enjoyable stage. We did watch some clears of this after the fact as well, and I was just like mind blown by some of the stuff that people were doing. But for me, I really enjoyed this. As I say, it just felt like to me at least, I'm a smooth brain, right? It felt like a complex puzzle with lots of moving parts. So R88, brilliant stage for me. Really enjoyed it. We're going to go on to some more stages in this now. M88 wasn't for me. I just think it was it felt like a basic stage, and I do think, unironically, being E1 made this stage a little bit easier, because the poison stacks didn't affect me so much because I was doing less damage, so I didn't really need to deal with it right away, so I was able to kind of deal with the rest of the stage. So for me, it was a good stage, but it didn't like blow me away. JT82 was fun as well. I really enjoyed this because this was another stage that was all about timing. Like we struggled for a bit on this stage. We started to deal with Tallulah, then we couldn't deal with the right side. Then we started to deal with the right side and we couldn't deal with Tallulah. Like it was like, you know, you're having to deal with both sections of the map. And it was another map again, which because of her burn, it was all down to retreats, timing, getting everything sorted, dealing with that one drone as well. I really enjoyed this stage actually. But the one out of the JT8 stages that was the one for me was an infamous stage, I think, in the community. As I got to chapter 8, so many people were saying, and I've got to brag a little bit, got to flex, I've got to flex, chat, I've got to flex. This was the one that everybody was saying, bro, you ain't getting past this E1. It ain't happening. It's just not happening. Oh, as well, before we do that, JT82, obviously, you had to E2 Amiya, right? But all I did basically was I just benched her. So we cleared this with 11 ops as well. I've got to throw that in there, right? I've got to throw that in there. I've got to get the humble brags in when I can, chat. I got to do it. I don't get them often, so I've got to do it. But yeah, this, you guys know this stage, right? Incredibly difficult. You deal with what's quite a difficult start to the stage, especially with those spearmen. Obviously that wasn't the most difficult part of the stage, but they really made things that extra bit harder, because Tallulah's hard enough to deal with anyway, and then the burn mechanic that she's got, just her incredible power, and then obviously the fire wave. But having them being only able to be blocked by operators that have 2 block, like it's like it really makes you have to change the way I probably would have played things, and then been able to concentrate more firepower on Tallulah, but couldn't because of those. So that was a thing to figure out at first, and then just figuring out where to stall Tallulah. Initially, it was about figuring out, right, how do I survive the first wave? Struggled ages to do that, right? Then we managed to do that. Then it was like, where do we actually stall her? And my head was like, well, we stall her here, because we got all the healers and everybody's just healing, and we just overheal and just try and survive. Didn't work. Then we went to trying to stall her up here actually, which I think we could have made happen if my account would have been a little bit more robust, or maybe I was just better at the game, right? But that didn't quite work. But I think we maybe could have made that happen. I don't know. And then we decided upon going for the stall here, and this is where it came to fruition. Obviously, you've got the fire wave to deal with, which is just intense. Like, this stage was less about like the puzzle element. There still was like obviously a lot of moving parts, you know, the crystals that pop up, having to deal with them, having to deal with the burn, making sure you get your timing right on your retreats. It was like a constant anxiety inducing stage. But like when that burn comes through, it's like, oh, you're on the edge of your seat. You really are. That was super enjoyable. I must admit, this stage was brought to you by All Pianos, right? All PP came in clutch. Best 50-50 loss I've ever had in a gacha game. And he kind of... We've had this conversation in my streams where some people are like, I don't know if you would have cleared it without him. I think I would have potentially been able to do him. I'm not exactly sure how it would have gone about it, but I think I would have been able to do it. It would have been a lot harder. It would have been by the skin of my teeth, and I'm not sure it was something that I would be able to replicate over and over. But OPP did definitely change the game. It did. It was a plot armor. It was the best 50-50 I've ever lost, and do change the game. But this was a really fun stage. Another one again where insane run up with the story, which added to the awesomeness of the stage, right? But it's just a really well designed stage. You'll see I don't have the secret ending, and that's because I think you actually have to use Amiya, right? She doesn't just have to be in your squad. You have to use her. So of course, because I'm a retard, really. People are like, why are you E2ing on your main account as a new player? I don't know, really. It's been fun, though, and I'm still having a blast with you. So I haven't been able to get that because, obviously, I couldn't use Amiya. So, yes, Chapter 8, loved all that. And then we go on to chapter 9, editing pixel here. And I wanted to add another stage into this as well, because I've just got to it today as I'm recording this video, and it's another stage in chapter 9, and that is 9:19, the boss fight against Mandagora. I haven't completed the stage yet, but we're right there. We're about to do it, hopefully in the next stream. But I just want to add this one in as well, because this is a really fun stage for me. Another one where there's some real cool use of mechanics in the pillars. Like throughout this stage, I've really liked the use of the pillar mechanic, and with this stage it takes it a little bit further. You've got quite a lot going on. You've got a boss that continually pushes towards you. A second phase as well is actually kind of crazy, and just starting to slowly figure the stage out has been an absolute pleasure. Initially kind of just throwing the pillars around right off the bat, trying to figure out how to hold down the left and the right side, as well as deal with her. We started using you to pull her across to the right side. That wasn't quite working. Then we came to the conclusion, with a little bit of help from chat here, that I can actually just prime the pillars. Something I noticed but I didn't really contemplate using. And then the ability to use the pillars for a second phase. And once again, it's one of those stages that's a bit of a puzzle, right? There's lots of little things dotted around the map, and you can use them to your advantage and use them in different ways. Like, you know, that can be used for the first phase or the second phase, dependent upon who your team is and what you're using. So far, we've kind of been going with Staller at the top right corner, Withle PP, and then prime the pillars, cover the left-hand side, make that all work, and then hopefully the plan is to then go through the pillars one by one, taking her out, then mag dumping her with everybody else, and then potentially pulling her back across to the right side with you again, and then using the pillar once more and making her go the longest route possible. That's the plan anyway. That's what I'm hoping to achieve. But I just wanted to throw this one in here because we were speaking about some of the other stages from chapter 9 and how much I've enjoyed them. And I just think this is a cool culmination of all those things, and then putting it together with the boss. It's a lot of fun. I do like the fact as well, if you leave pillars standing and you have your units within 2 tiles, she'll actually use them again, which is kind of foreshadowed in the little bit of story prior to it. I kind of expected that, and then until we actually got to the second phase, I was like, oh, it actually does. I thought she was going to be throwing the pillars around off the get-go, or the rubble, but she doesn't. She does it in a second phase. She knocks the pillars down. To think again, once again, just a really cool way to use the stage against the player, but allow the player to use the stage against the enemy as well. Really fun design. I really like this one, and yeah, another great addition to the stages. And this is refreshing. It's nice because it's a lot easier than chapter 8, right? And I really like the stage mechanic with the pillars. Again, it's like this quirky, just fun mechanic that you can kind of play with, right? In regards to pathing again with the enemies, of knocking over the pillars and blocking off a tile if it's a deployable tile, and then having to work around it, right? But one thing I really do like, I think it's these ones here, S92, S93 and S94. I think S91 does it as well, right? Yeah, where they're a little bit trolly. Like, it gives you a choice. Do you want to go left or right? Do you want to go range tiles? Or do you want to go ground tiles? You're going to kind of do either or you can choose to just like do both, right? But obviously I chose to use the mechanic each time because it was just fun, right? And most of the time I went with the ground tiles. And then like we chain healed with a monster here as well. These were really fun because this one was like, you had all those flamethrower dudes all the way around, right? And then when you dropped one of these, because initially I was like, right, we go ground. So I knock this one down. So they all blow up, and then knock this down, and they all blow up. And then it's like, oh, no, which way was it now? Whatever, anyway. Yeah, I think that's right. But basically, it blocked off the side you didn't want to block off, which was just, I think was cool. It was a little bit of a trickery, skullduggery on Hypergryph's behalf. And then you're like, okay, I'll see what they're doing here. And you go into this chapter, and it's totally different, right? It's a totally different situation. You knock this down, and you're kind of holding it down. This plays out a little bit more like a normal stage, right? But again, you know, clearing all these guys out here, these flamethrower guys out here with the pillar, really fun to do, right? You know, again, kind of just a quirky, silly, light-hearted mechanic, but just a lot of fun. And then you go on to the next one, and it was kind of the same thing again, right? It was like, it's different again. And it felt like they were like throwing you something, and then you're like, okay, I get what they're doing here. And then they do something totally different. And this is one thing that I've been saying for a long time about Arknights, which is I'm a big fan of, right? The map design and mechanics themselves are incredible. Like, take the characters out of the game, right, which are awesome, and the actual basis of the game. The map design and the map mechanics themselves, the way they keep, like, one-upping themselves and coming up with these cool little designs for what at the end of the day is a tower defense game. I think it's brilliant, and I think they should be commended for it, right? And I know a lot of people in the Arknights community talk about this, but it's something I just think should be spoken about more, because the design for me, especially as somebody who's E1, I have to use, I guess, more arms in my armory, if that makes sense, right? Rather than maybe being able to squeeze past the stage by raw power, right? I have to, like, I don't want to say think things through, but I have to maybe, like, you know, do things a little bit unorthodox sometimes. And I really do like using the mechanics that the game gives you. And I think playing E1, I think this is why people like niche nights and nickel nights and doing little self-imposed challenges in Arknights, right? Because it really does bring to light the amazing parts of the game. I've said before, if you want to steamroll content and you want to play the game in your way, that's how games are supposed to be played. They're for fun, right? But for me, that's the real fun part of the game, because it makes the design choices from the developers shine, and they're really good at doing that, right? They're really, really good at doing that. So, there's a lot of other stages that I really like, right, guys? But I think so far, these are some of my favourite stages. Now, there's some other cool stages. The Frost Nova fight is a great fight, and there's a bunch of other stages that are just really cool as well. Just for the enemies, for maybe the actual layout of the map, maybe the aesthetic, all that sort of stuff, or just they are fun as well. But I think those are my favourite stages. Let me know down below, what are your favourite stages, and maybe you remind me of some that I forgot, because there's probably a lot that I forgot about, right? Oh, I was just thinking about this earlier when I was at the gym. I was on the treadmill, I was listening to some music, and I was just like, man, I've been enjoying the funny stages in Chapter 9. I like this pillar mechanic. And then it got me thinking about the roadblocks, and I was like, dude, those were really fun, they were. And then it got me thinking about the other stages I've had a blast on as well. So I'd love to know, what are your favourite stages in Arknights? Let me know down below. Guys, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all in the next one. Ta-ra.